It's 1940. An MGM animation studio holds an in-house competition. They've just made a short cartoon about a cat chasing a mouse. It's a hit. The Academy is about to nominate it for an Oscar, and the studio has given a release to make more of these. The cat is currently called Jasper. The mouse doesn't even have a proper name right now. They need something better, let's just say. So they open it up to every animator on the lot. Hundreds of entries come in along with hundreds of suggestions. The winner is an animator named John Carr. His prize, $50. His winning suggestion, Tom and Jerry. But these two names did not come out of nowhere. For more than a century, they'd been drifting through the English-speaking world. They had belonged to fictional rakes in Regency London. They had become slang for riotous young men. They had attached themselves to a warm Christmas cocktail served in American bars and Prohibition-era speakeasies. They had appeared in a Damon Runyon story filled with gangsters, dancers, and a drunk Santa Claus. But before any of that, they appeared in a guidebook to London. Published in 1821, this is the story of how two names created by a Regency sports journalist crossed an ocean, passed through theatre, slang, bartending, literature, and finally became the most famous cat and mouse in animation history. And the man who started it all, the original creator of Tom and Jerry, is someone most people have never even heard of. His name was Piers Egan. Welcome, I am Arvind Vijay Mohan, and today we are about to follow the journey of a name. Because sometimes culture moves in ways nobody can quite plan. A phrase appears in one era, proves strangely durable, and survives long enough to be rediscovered by people who no longer remember where it had come from. The story of Tom and Jerry, before the cat, before the mouse, before the 7 Academy Awards, begins in Regency, London. Let's start there. By the early 1820s, Piers Egan was the most famous sports journalist in Britain. In Regency, London, that meant something. This was a world where bare-knuckle prize fighting drew aristocrats and criminals alike, where horse racing united princes and labourers, where the distance between high society and the underworld was thinner than it would ever be again. Egan chronicled all of it. His Boxiana series, first published in 1813, established him as the defining voice of the fighting world. He's the one who coined the phrase the sweet science to describe prize fighting. He was, in modern terms, a celebrity journalist. But in 1821, he had a new idea. He would write a guide to London. Not just architecture and monuments, a guide to the experience of that city itself. The pubs, gambling houses, opera halls, slums, promenades, slang, nightlife, and the spectacle of the largest city in Europe. And he would do it through characters. Corinthian Tom is worldly, fashionable, and completely at home in the city. Jerry Hawthorne is his country cousin, naive, newly arrived, completely dependent on Tom to guide him through London life. The third member of the trio is Bob Logic, a failed scholar and a cheerful corrupter of the youth. The full title gives you the flavor. Life in London, or the day and night scenes of Jerry Hawthorne Esquire and his elegant friend, Corinthian Tom, accompanied by Bob Logic, the Oxonian, in their rambles and sprees through the metropolis. The celebrated Cruikshank brothers illustrated it, each image hand-colored by them. It began publication in monthly installments in January 1821, and it exploded. Pirated editions appeared within weeks. Imitations flooded the market. The work was even translated into French. King George received Egan at court, such was its popularity. Then came the theatre. A dramatist named William Thomas Moncrief adapted Life in London for the stage. His production, Tom and Jerry, or Life in London, ran continuously at the Adelphi Theatre for 2 full seasons. In an era where most plays would survive a few weeks at best, this became the first production in London history to reach 100 consecutive performances. Tom and Jerry were suddenly everywhere. And then America found them. One of the stage adaptations crossed the Atlantic and launched what contemporary accounts call a Tom and Jerry craze. The names escape the original story and enter the language itself. The Oxford English Dictionary later documented Tom and Jerry as a phrase used to describe young men associated with drinking, gambling, and disorderly living. A Tom and Jerry shop became slang for a dubious tavern. The names, as you can tell, had detached themselves from their creators. They were now part of popular culture. Somewhere in the cultural exchange between Britain and America, the phrase attached itself to a drink. A hot winter drink made with eggs, sugar, spice, and rum. Something in between an eggnog and punch, served steaming in mugs besides the fire. By the 1840s, Americans were calling it a Tom and Jerry. The connection to Egan's characters was almost certainly the reason. The names already, you see, carried associations of sociability, drinking, and excess. And eventually, the drink found its chronicler. Jeremiah P. Thomas was born in 1830 in Sackett's Harbor, New York. He worked as a bartender across America before finally settling in New York City and opening a bar right beneath Barnum's American Museum. He was very, very famous for his theatrical bartending. His signature drink, the Blue Blazer, involved streams of flaming whiskey that were poured between metal cups. He toured Europe carrying solid silver bar tools. And in 1862, he published The Bartender's Guide, the first cocktail manual published in the United States. The book included a recipe for the Tom and Jerry. Thomas did not invent the drink. He simply immortalized it in print. The cocktail survived into the 20th century before colliding with prohibition. In 1920, rum became illegal. The Tom and Jerry slowly faded away with it. And it was during this fading twilight that Damon Runyon brought it briefly back to life. On 21st December 1932, Runyon published Dancing Dan's Christmas, set in a Manhattan speakeasy on Christmas Eve. The narrator and bartender is a person named Good Time Charlie, who drinks hot Tom and Jerry's made with rye whiskey because rum is unavailable during Prohibition. Runyon opens the story in his unmistakable Broadway voice. This hot Tom and Jerry is an old-time drink of mine. The entire story glows with that time. Gangsters, dancers, a stumbling Santa Claus, a diamond theft, and the warmth of a nearly forgotten cocktail. The story became enormously popular and was later collected into the famous Furthermore collection of books in 1938. And somewhere in America, in the years that followed, those names remained in circulation, waiting. A cat and mouse were about to inherit them. Joseph Barbera joined MGM's animation unit in 1937 at the age of 26. He teamed up with director William Hanna, and together they searched for new cartoon characters powerful enough to compete with Disney and Warner Brothers. At first, they considered a fox and a dog. Then they simplified the idea. Why not just stick with the basics? A cat and a mouse. Producer Fred Quimby was unconvinced, but he allowed them to make one shot, just one. Puss Gets the Boot was released on 10th February 1940. It featured a scruffy cat named Jasper chasing an unnamed mouse through a household while trying not to get thrown out by its owner. The short was funny, tightly timed, and an immediate success. Then MGM executives advised Hanna and Barbera not to continue the series. They didn't see the merit in it. But then the audience intervened. Viewers wrote letters asking for more of that cat and mouse. The short received an Academy Award nomination after that. The honchos at MGM immediately reversed course. A competition was announced across the animation department. Rename those characters. Jasper doesn't have the right ring, and give that mouse a name. The prize, $50. The winner was an animator named John Carr. His suggestion? One guess. Tom and Jerry. Carr drew the names from Runyon's story, which drew them from the cocktail, which drew them from Egan's original characters. A chain as improbable as it appears was clearly present. By 1940, the names Tom and Jerry had existed continuously in English-speaking culture for nearly 120 years. They passed through journalism, theatre, slang, bartending, prohibition, literature, and popular memory. When John Carr wrote those names on a piece of paper, he was reaching into something already deeply familiar. Hanna and Barbera went on to make 114 Tom and Jerry shorts for MGM. They won 7 Academy Awards for Best Animated Short Film, more than any other character-based animated theatrical series in history. 4 came consecutively between 1943 and 1946. The cat remained Tom, the mouse remained Jerry. And those names trace all the way back to a journalist in Regency London writing about pubs, prize fights, nightlife, and young men wandering through that city after dark. Pierce Egan could not have imagined the 20th century, but the names he chose were durable enough to survive it. What fascinates me about this story is that nobody controlled it. Pierce Egan did not create Tom and Jerry hoping that it would survive for centuries. He was simply trying to capture the energy of London in 1821. But the names proved adaptable, simple, memorable, instantly paired. And over time, they kept attaching themselves to the same kind of relationship, the worldly one and the innocent one, the pursuer and the escape artist. Two figures locked in permanent tension. That dynamic kept resurfacing in new forms because it described something people instantly recognized. The name survived because they, to my mind, remained useful. Pierce Egan died in 1849. His fame faded. Life in London moved in and out of obscurity, but the names outlived all of it. Tom and Jerry. Two ordinary words that traveled for 120 years before arriving in that animation studio in Hollywood. And once they got there, they became immortal. These are real people, these are real stories, and all of this really happened. My name is Arvind Vijay Mohan, and I'll see you on the next mind-blowing episode.